What's up, y'all? This is another episode of the Gooey Files. Sorry it's taking so long for the past episode, but we back. And this week's episode, or this new episode, is going to be about the 10-year anniversary of Good.Kid.Maad.City. And today I got with me my boy Donovan.
Yo, what's going on?
Okay, so right off the bat, um, what is Good.Kid.Maad.City's impact on the music on hip hop as a whole? So my whole reasoning or my whole theory is that I think it inspired people to try concept albums again, and the fact that it was such a mainstream success, uh, it showed the world that you don't have to sacrifice your artistry in order to, and you can still, like, concept albums can still do well from a chart standpoint and everything like that. But not to mention, it's got everything that you would want in a debut album, and it shows how good Kendrick is at his job. Like, yeah, songs like Bad Seed Freestyle, Money Trees, Mad City, the first part, and he has songs like Sing About Me that pretty much touch on every single part of Kendrick's artistry.
For me, I I think this really solidified Kendrick's legacy. In all honesty, I mean, he was on the up and coming for a while now, and he had things that had like slight mainstream success, and niggas love Section 80. But I think he was just like, for lack of better words, I think he was just in a little bit higher tier of niggas who make scare and the hose music before this. Um, but Good Kid, Mad City really solidified that he was here to stay, and like it solidified how versatile he was. I don't think a lot of people realize, even though his main thing is rapping, or honestly, I don't think a lot of people realize how versatile you can be even if you just rap. Like, there's so many ways that you can go about it, whether it be with a different concept, or whether you vocalize yourself a different way, or just the way you utilize yourself or the beat or anything. So with the different ways that he was able to construct these songs, all of them, the whole album felt fresh. And for that, like, it was just, it was incredible. It still is incredible.
One one thing somebody mentioned is, and I think Dre had mentioned this on Twitter one day, that exceeding expectations is one thing, but living up to those expectations and living up to the expectation that people have for you is another thing. And that's how I feel like the case is with Kendrick. Like, for instance, Kendrick had, before Good.Kid.Maad.City, before the album, a year before the album, he received a key to the West Coast from Snoop Dogg, Corrupt, and a bunch of other West Coast legends. Do you know how crazy that is? After pretty much, well, Section 80 was like, okay, I'm on the scene now, but like, that's not even near your best work. And the fact that people crowned you the king of the West off that, before Good.Kid.Maad.City, To Pimp a Butterfly, Damn, and all these other albums dropped, that is an insane feat. And not everybody has that. And I feel like Good.Kid.Maad.City, of course, was a moment in itself, but I feel like the real solidifying moment was the Hard Part 3. It was like everybody in the TDE camp knew, um, and everybody in Kendrick knew that he had made something very special with this album. Is pretty much, it touches on it is what it is 100% what a debut album should be. It should have, or like, if you're trying to like hook new listeners, everything like that, it has pretty much everything that you would want in a debut album as a rapper. Uh, this is such, I'll say this, I'm such a To Pimp a Butterfly fan. I love that album to death. And I think it's easily Kendrick's best artistically. But this is 100% his most important album. In terms of like a mainstream landscape and a just an impact on hip hop in general, I think this is just like it's his most important album to the rap game.
Yeah, I think To Pimp a Butterfly was his most important album for him. But I think as far as like you were saying, the impact on music as a whole, I think Good.Kid.Maad.City was that. I mean, that was really a moment in rap history and really that era. That was kind of the last time we really seen Kendrick in the public eye. Because like once he like locked in and started working on Spin Butterfly and Damn, it would be more like he would do things and then you wouldn't really see him out. But like Good.Kid.Maad.City, like he was everywhere and doing a lot of things and feature wise, he was in a lot of places. Like it was just a time for him. Um, so yeah, getting the key to the West Coast at his age in that time before he even had a debut album was definitely insane. Um, so like the fact that he was able to live up to that, and not only to me, I think he exceeded that is it's beautiful. It's amazing. It's inspiring. It's something you really only like think about in TV shows and whatnot. But Kendrick really did that.
So one thing I want to touch on as well, and as from like history, from a history standpoint, we always talk about how rappers always get R&B sing. A lot of rappers always get R&B singers to do hooks because they aren't good at hooks. So some of them, Kendrick has. This isn't even a hot take. It shouldn't be a hot take, but Kendrick is one of the most complete rappers of all time, and I feel like one thing that really pushes that is the fact that he's extremely good at hooks for somebody for him himself. Like it's so I can't say that about everybody. Like you have stuff like the Money Trees hook, Backseat Freestyle. Like this album is full of incredible hooks. And especially for this is not even being his magnum opus to me or anything like that. On Section 80, he had some really good hooks. But this album is like, okay, I'm gonna show y'all that I'm 100% a complete rapper, one of the most complete rappers of all time. Like, what is the best? Is Money Tree's best hook on this album? I would say so.
Let me, yeah. It's either that or I was gonna say it's either that or Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, but I think Money Trees is just like a perfect song. So I think it's really hard to compare. But I think the Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe uh hook is very good though.
I was I would say so too. Speaking of Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, I to this day I still can't believe that third verse by Kendrick on the remix. Like
With Jay
that's
Z?
like when we talk about spinning the block, that is literally spinning the block. Like he Jay-Z, so like Jay-Z got on when he came in on his first, but then like Kendrick was like, I'm not going for that. I'm finna dunk on you.
Yeah, I like when people do remixes and they add another verse instead of just like having somebody else on it. I like things to be different, so I'm very glad that he added that because it very
Okay,
well he very easily could have just been like, yeah, I'm young, I got Jay Z on this hook on one of my more popular songs. Like I've done enough. I don't really have to do anything else.
I feel like also the ending of this album and like content being an outro is so perfect. Not to me, but like more so the fact that how it relates to every single other Kendrick outro. Like it's such an interesting timeline. Like for instance, you have on the content or you have High Power with Section 80, then you have Compton with this one. Then you have Mortal Man with Some Pimple Butterfly, Duckworth with Damn, and then Mirror with Mr. Morale. It's such an interesting timeline to me. But back to the subject, back to the album at hand. What is the thematic peak of this album? And I think it's gonna be that stretch from I want to say Mad City to, let me read off the list. I need to look.
It's probably Mad. To me, it's like it's
It's
either
Mad City to, I want to say Mad
Mad
City
City
to
to
the
Sing
end.
About Me.
Let me look it up.
I feel like the
I think
peak
you're
of
right.
I think the peak of it is Sing About Me Dying of Thirst. Like going into Mad City and then swimming pools and then like Sing About Me is honestly like one of the most beautiful songs anyone has ever written, let alone him. And Kendrick has written a lot of beautiful songs. Um, but just the way he was kind of able to go through these stories. And then of course everyone remembers and if I die before my album drop, and then just the gunshots, like I just remember hearing that for the first time and being like, wow, like that's crazy. Like this is immaculate storytelling. He's always been really good at that. Like even with stuff on Overly Dedicated and Section 80, like the storytelling has always been there. But he really tapped in at that point. You could definitely tell he was getting to that point. I mean, because he already had songs like Keisha's Song and No Makeup Her Vice, although the song's not particularly good.
Yeah, it is
But
not.
like he was getting there, certainly.
Like with the thing, like from Mad City, I'm gonna be honest, man. People talk about the Mad City, the first part, so much that I think the second part is underrated as hell. And I feel like that's one of my favorite points of that's my favorite points of the album. Um, like talking about like basically saying basically him just wilding out and just freaking out. That part to the end of Sing About Me, and then Compton at the ending, I think it's perfect. Um, I love how the album actually starts with the quote unquote beginning is Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe versus like, yes, Shireen is like a prelude, but like Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe is like the very start of the journey. And I liked it, and I liked it. I feel like it's pretty clever. For what does this mean? I feel like this album is also Soundwaves. It's also very important to Soundwaves as well. Soundwave as well, due to the fact that in-house producer, been rocking with Kendrick for a while and everything like that. What is the best beat on the album?
The best beat on here is probably I want to say it's Backstreet Freestyle. I think that song is just like the beat itself is just like I feel like if anyone else rapped on it, it wouldn't really hit the same. It's such like chaotic, like it's like controlled chaos in a sense. And he really made that beat work for him instead of rapping around the beat itself.
Like I feel like Good.Kid.Maad.City is also the definition of, okay, people aren't just pulling beats off a hard drive in their album. The producers in the studio with them, and there's actually like real like an extra emphasis of care on the album. Like there's tons of times where people can just mail it in and it turns out fine. It still turns out great. But I feel like that makes the world a difference in like having the artist in mind, like saying, hey, I made this beat specifically for you. Let's work. And I feel like that's important. Now, when I talked about earlier about concept albums and how I feel like Kendrick inspired people to try concept albums after this project, what would you think are some examples for that? I feel like I want to say watching movies with the sound off is a part of it. Not a definite answer, but I feel like Matt did take some inspiration from Kendrick in that sense.
Well, first, let me think about concept albums that came out after that as a whole. Watching movies came out, because the internet came out. You got, hold on, I feel like it's easier if I do it this way.
Let me look up 2013 hip hop albums.
Yeah, I'm definitely doing that right now.
Wolf, because the internet.
Yeah, because of the internet, I definitely say is one of them. Wolf, yeah, that probably changed Tyler's career as a whole. Just because like just the whole subject matter switched. I mean, Tyler was probably on a natural progression to changing that anyway, but the fact that it got Good.Kid.Maad.City got so much appeal, being able to make the music he wanted probably helped him transition to that easier.
So, like, I feel like he was way more brash in that 2011 era. And I feel like everybody in our future starting to be like, okay, we want to take this more serious. Because like all the albums from the camp that dropped in 2013 were much more serious and than like their previous projects. Like Dom had a project with Alchemist. Doris wasn't cringy like Earl in a sense. And also Wolf was a much more Wolf had some playfulness in it for sure, but like there was some seriousness in there as well.
Dom was always the like
he was like, okay, he was
most
never
serious a rapper in the camp. But yeah. Oh, I'll also say Summertime '06.
Why would you say that? Out of
It's just,
curiosity.
I mean, there it not only is it because they're around the same area, but again, it's just like that concept that he was able to make like story about his life and the things that he's done and the things that he's seen and be able to get the appeal that it got. Because I mean, we all enjoyed Vince before, but I think that was really like when Vince pivoted into just another underground rapper, into someone who was highly respected and really in the light. Like he was really considered upper echelon after that project. And with the way that Good.Kid.Maad.City, like like we've been talking about, like the appeal that it got and the way the story was told, like Summertime '06 is like that was really Vince's story.
I agree with you on that. I agree on that. Would we say oxymoron?
Um, I gotta look at Oxymoron track list.
What'd you say?
I gotta look at that Oxymoron checklist.
You gotta look at that look at the track list.
Yeah.
So Oxymoron has, let me see.
Collard
Oxymoron
greens, what they want, the purge.
Oxymoron has Gangsta, Los Awesome, Collard Greens, What They Want, Hoover Street, Studio, Prescription slash Oxymoron, The Purge, Blind Threats, Hell of a Night, Break the Bank, Man of the Year, His and Her. Well, I think that's the bonus tracks after that. But wait, the album ends with Fuck LA. Roofline Part 2 is track 14. His and Her, Fiend, 13, Man of the Year, Break the Bank, Blind Threads. I feel like the formula for that album for Oxymoron can be traced back to Good.Kid.Maad.City. Because they both show the mainstream appeal that they both can have, not to mention, but they don't sacrifice the rapping skills in the project as well. I feel like the similarities are there in terms of the idea in mind for the album construction.
I can definitely see that. I'm sure all of them were inspired. Everyone in TDE was like, if all these outside people were inspired by this, I know that people in TDE were inspired by that. Like, I'm sure it even inspired Isaiah Rashad with like his albums and the way that he constructed them, because I feel like he makes the closest music to Kendrick, if anything, out of the camp.
He does. I feel like Kendrick is very concept centered, like, but Kendrick is like, okay, you before this album ends, you know for a fact what the concept of the album is going to be. No debate, like every single project. With Isaiah Rashad, I'm not gonna say he's super concept centered. However, in terms of like introspective songwriting and songwriting about what's going on around you and everything like that, and storytelling as well, he is definitely the closest to Kendrick in that aspect. So I think I agree with you on that. Because like on Sylvia Demo, you got songs like Tranquility, Ronnie Drake, what else? Webby Flow. So I get what you're saying on that.
Modest Heavenly Father.
Yes. Like, yeah, I would 100% agree with you now. Like, I'm pretty sure. I think it's Kendrick. Then Zay, in terms of like the brand that you're talking about. And then I would say after, after I would say Q.
Yeah. Q has his own way of going about it, but I can see it. Because even with Blank Face, the way that went about, I think that one had a little bit more of a concept than Oxymoron did.
I feel you. So wait, Blank Face? Oh yeah, absolutely. Like there should be, I don't think that's a debate. I feel like everybody would say Blank Face is his. I would argue, I want to say Habits would be second. I kind of want to say Habits would be second. I would say Blank Face first, then Habits second, and then Oxymoron third for like if we talk about like concept stuff. But my final question for you is, where does this rank in the all decade catalog for hip hop, and what does this album get on a scale from 1 to 10?
Well, first I'll say this album is at the very least, a 9 out of 10. Again, just the impact that it had from at the time to now, the quality of the songs, the era and everything surrounding it. Like this was a really good album. It's not. I think the only song on here that I didn't really like that was Real. But I mean, it's one of those songs that has its place on the album. I might not listen to it like if it just comes on, but it has its place on the album. If I'm gonna listen to this album, I'm not gonna skip it. So
Real, Real is an important song. However, I agree with you. It's just kind of like I'm not going. It's not bad. It's not like an ear sore, but it's like if I'm going through all the songs on Good.Kid.Maad.City, I'm even potentially putting, as wild as I sound, I'm potentially even putting Poetic Justice over Real. Would I rather
I
know?
like Poet. I really like Poetic
Like,
Justice, to be honest.
I think people are very hard on that song for no big reason. I feel like people are hard on the song because Drake is on it, partially. And they'll say it's a Drake song. Which I kind of see, but at the same time, I don't think it's bad. I like the song.
Yeah, I think it's just niggas who love Kendrick and niggas who love Drake typically do not align with the same
Musical taste.
musical values and musical taste. So it's really hard for both of them sides to see how they fit together on the song just because they value different things in music. But me personally, I enjoyed them. I very much enjoy that song. Um, as far as in the like decade, um, off the top of my head, the only albums I think that I really think are better for sure are My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, um, To Pimp Butterfly, Pinata.
I think I don't think it's a hot take to
Uh,
I don't think it's a hot take to take Pinata over Good Kid Master because I love Pinata.
uh, I think I'm trying to think. I want to say Care for Me and Room 25.
Care for Me in Room 25. I think I'm with you on I'm not gonna say I'm with you, but I see both. But if I had to say one had the edge, I think Care for Me might have the edge. Like in terms of comparing the two albums. So like
Okay.
I'm much more inclined to say Care for Me. Like I don't agree with you, but I'm much more inclined to say Care for Me is better than Good.Kid.Maad.City than Room 25 is better than Good.Kid.Maad.City. Because like although I love the instrumentation on Room 25, and that was like my biggest takeaway from it. But I feel like Care for Me is just I feel like Care for Me is damn near perfect. So I I see the reason in why you think of both, and you think and you would give the edge to those two albums.
And this is just hip hop albums, right? Or are you talking about albums in general?
I was talking I was talking mainly hip hop, but when I
Okay. So
usually when
yeah, if okay, then I think the only other ones that I would say is watching movies with the sound off and The Sun's Tirade.
I would put Sylvia in there instead of Sun's Tirade.
I
I feel
I think
like
I think Sylvia. I think The Sun's Tirade is Isaiah Rashad's best album, but I do understand people who like Sylvia Demo more. Now,
I
I will say a hot take, and that I think that um, I think Control System is TDE's second best album. I think that's Absol's magnum opus, and that's why it's upset me so much with the music he's made since then because it has become nowhere close. I really think as I really think as far as TDE projects, it goes to Pimp Butterfly, um, to Pimp Butterfly, Control System, Sun's Tirade, Blank Face, and um then Good.Kid.Maad.City.
I think for me, it goes to Pimper Butterfly, to Pimper Butterfly, Blank Face, Sylvia, to Pimper Butterfly, Blank Face, Sylvia, Good.Kid.Maad.City, and then Control System. If I had to do the TDE top five.
That's fair. That's very fair.
The reason why I put Sylvia at third over, the reason why I put Sylvia over Control System and Good.Kid.Maad.City is I feel like it touches on, I feel like the everyday playability for me on Sylvia is just through the roof. Not to mention with Control System, I am not a fan of how it is mixed, and I'm just not the biggest Axl fan in the world, although I do really like that album as well. So
what I will say about Sylvia Demo is that I think it is one of the best introductory projects to an artist we've probably ever heard. Not necessarily like a debut album. It's not an album, so I'm not saying like it's like an upper echelon debut album or anything. Like as far as like for that being one of, if not most people's first thing they heard of Isaiah Rashad, there's not a lot of projects that you can get to say like, oh, this is my first time hearing him. This is amazing. Like with Kendrick, we got Overly Dedicated, and some people for Section 80, which is like really good. But Sylvia Demo blows those type of projects out the water, and that album really just had so much with it. And the fact that he also was able to kind of keep up with the expectations that he's set up when he dropped a project like Sylvia Demo is amazing.
yeah, I agree, man. I think you're right too. I don't know, because with Isaiah Rashad, he did not have the welcoming party that the rest of TDE had. It was more so, okay, I popped up. I popped up in the middle of 2014 on XSL cover, and then after that, it's kind of like, okay, I grew, which is crazy because for artists that had a very quick introduction, that nigga has a lot of really hardcore fans. And I feel it's crazy because I feel like his writing is so, because his writing is so damn strong. But that nigga has a lot of fans, core fans. And I feel like he has he has a very underrated. And the thing is, I don't think he interacts with his fan base that much like other artists. However, his writing is so strong, I feel like everything kind of just falls into place. Like he didn't have the introduction that Kendrick had, or Q had, or J Rock had, or Absol had, but I would say his fan base is probably the third strongest in TDE right now. If we're still counting Kendrick as a TDE member.
I honestly consider him second. I feel like he has a stronger fan base than, I feel like your next person was going to be Schoolboy Q, but I think Isaiah Rashad's fan base is a little bigger than his, especially since Schoolboy hasn't really met, and he made something, but it was very.
Oh,
So
I was counting SZA. I was counting SZA as second.
Oh, SZA. Okay, definitely. Well then, yeah. Okay, so we're on the same page. Great. Okay, so yeah, Kendrick, SZA, Isaiah Rashad, Schoolboy Q. Is J Rock before Absol, or is Absol before J Rock?
It's Absol, because Absol has some diehard fans. Like the fans I know that are Absol fans, they love that nigga. J Rock, I feel like J Rock being an introductory member to TDE is kind of crazy because the fact that he don't really have an album. Every TD member has like okay, this is every team member has a like extreme critically acclaimed or a body of work, an album that you could consider the album of the year for that respective year. Every single TDE member, besides like any core member outside of J Rod.
I remember niggas loved 90059, but that came out in 2015, and I'm like, I'm trying to think of what came out in
September Butterfly.
Oh yeah, he had no chance. Oh
no
god.
chance.
September Butterfly came out in 2015. Summertime '06 came out in 2015. If you're reading this, it's too late. Came out in 2015. I don't like shit. I don't go outside. Tootsie on You, DS2. Yeah, he had no chance, which is unfortunate because that was a really good project.
Yeah, I like that. I like the album.
This is a very strong year. Now that I'm looking at it, this had at long last ASAP, Surf, which was cool. Shrimp Life, Barter 6, What a Time to Be Alive. I don't particularly like that project, but I know people love that project. Before the Money, Rodeo, The Good Fight by Odyssey, King Push, Darkest Before Dawn, The Prelude. This is like Shadow of Doubt, Mr. Wonderful by Action Bronson, the album about nothing. Good AM. Like
this had several. This year had several magnum opuses in it.
56 Nights. Future dropped 56 Nights and DS2 in the same year,
which is crazy. Yeah, but we gonna wrap it up there. Donovan, appreciate you for coming on. If there's anything, guys, if there's anything that y'all want me to review, album, a topic that you want us to talk about, anything like that, feel free to reach out and hit me on Twitter. I probably will do something like this for an album coming up soon. I'm trying to think what the next album I'll do it for. I'm not entirely sure, but other than that, appreciate you guys for pulling up to another episode of the Groovy Files. Y'all stay easy and stay safe.
All right, bro.